to another episode of Inspiring Instinct. I am E.R. Vogel, local poet and fellow overthinker. And normally I will have some sort of theme or some sort of tool to help you write, but today I'm just going to read you some original poems. I went through some of my old notebooks and found some stuff I found interesting. Hope you'll like it too. First one I found from this tiny little thing that's fallen apart. I've stepped on enough toes to be more careful how I move now. I don't want to break anymore. Some still slide under my feet if my tongue is quicker than my filter, pulling in their shoes as I simply lean in. I didn't notice until after the crunch that the throes of their balance was putting their trust of me in question. Well, intentions only go as far as your empathy. The memories of ones I've stepped on flare with regret of not shifting my weight in any other fucking direction. Balance is important. Trust more so. You see, I've never known my own strength until the damage has already landed. I didn't know I was capable of hurting something I intended to nurture. What a cautious trail to create around the mess from breakfast this morning, tiptoeing to not shatter shells, only to trip and spill spoiled milk on the carpet. We all must learn from mistakes. That's part of life. But knowing to need to make them still doesn't seem worth it. When I was a child, I walked everywhere staring at my feet. I wanted to make sure I knew where I was going. Maybe I should start doing that again. Yeah, it's funny how old stuff can make you reflect on new things in your life, new issues. And then I found one where it's just more of like a really fun story. And what we're gonna do is out of this one. There we go. This story was inspired by a lot of the Native American culture and their mythology. The Echoes of Trees. In the echoes of trees, they like to tell me this story about a boy who used to run around here. He would whisper to the wind and shout compliments at all the insects. Dancing in the rain was mandatory because all his plant friends can now feast. One day, after running an extraordinary amount, he stopped to catch his breath, where the trees were a tad more scarce. Not caring about being lost, he started looking for the prettiest leaf. Beneath him laid only fragile natural carpeting, until he saw a touch of color, buried under nourishment's remains. A quick excavation seemed to revive what life held on, as the life began to grow in his head, but still struggling to do so. In a nurturing panic, he runs in circles looking for how to help keep this life going. At the very distance of his scream sat a girl who didn't run often. She was building a tiny house out of twigs for any little critter searching for a home. Hearing his distress, finishing the window frame was interrupted, and she finally ran for something good. By the time she found him, his moving feet tilled dirt to dress new life. Without saying a word to each other, she planted the twig she forgot to let go of, and he tied the leaf to it, and they sat, and they laughed, and they watched growth through holding on to something good. This story always ends when I reach the tallest tree. with the most vivid colors for miles. I can't help but sit in awe, whisper to the wind, and try to build a tiny home until I hear youthful laughter erupt from the trees. Just nice to have the idea of a little spirit in the woods laughing along with you on a good day. And then I found some deeper thoughts too. Like, it's interesting watching time move, leading every step in this waltz called life, guiding memory in its hands. How patient they both are, tripping over each other in the efforts of not drifting apart, like the color in my beard fading to white, but not everywhere. Just little inklings of disconnect whenever loss is felt. And with further notebook digging, I found even deeper, older stuff that I don't even know where it came from. What stories run through your head when I choose to speak? I can see you paying attention, but there's more behind those inquiring eyes. I actually want to keep talking to create more time for you to compose whatever tale you have to finish, helping you better understand life and love and other things most haven't tried to care for before. I hope my smart mouth and suppressed wisdom help make your way to the lesson you need to teach yourself. I will help, only as much as anyone else you choose to listen to. Apparently I was really into somebody. And apparently I have never reflected your emotions. I hope you've never done the same. I simply showed mine in a way I never knew I could, because not too many seem to try and listen as well as you did with such calm and ease about my chaotic correlations between sad, happy, angry, and confused. The boredom only took over when I saw all of that was worthless. At least I saw that in your eyes, but I was never bored of you. I've learned to better myself through you, not to put the weight of any failures on you. That is my burden to wear, my cliché scarlet letter that will never change meaning. A brand that itches, then turns to rash, then turns to fester without your touch, so instinctively placed there, then. But it's been long enough waiting for it to heal on its own. That's not what needs nurturing. The burn seeped through my chest and left a mark on my heart or soul or both, the shape of your fingerprint that spreads with every panic attack or every sigh of relief, as if your work will never end. And then sometimes, I guess I met somebody else who was a pretty bartender, because the name of this poem is To the Pretty Bartender Down the Street. I want to write poems about your tattoos. Try to guess why you got them before you tell me. A simple interest in the appeal or something deep to you, yet still vague enough to be understood by anyone. Maybe you just said, fuck it, I want a ballerina on my arm. I'll write the story of where she learned to dance, what that brought in her life, and her affinity for sunflowers. The way she pirouettes so calmly, so contradicting to when you tense up, could be helping you keep your composure with the picky regular who always asks too many questions before ordering the same thing every time. Maybe the snake eating its own tail on your wrist reminds you to keep going, shed your skin when needed, change, and fucking go forward. Realizing you're not who you used to be should be a good thing. Slithering isn't the right word. Gliding into something new, yet still familiar, being fully aware of the past makes what you want for the future more clear than what you think of, the translucent layer left behind. Maybe the simple cartoon broken heart on your chest is more transparent than your exterior, and you felt pain but will never let it alter your demeanor. You know the importance of politeness, a skill worth practicing, a skill that's very difficult practicing when dealing with difficult people, but solution reigns over competition. At least the heart isn't scattered fragments, it's just split down the middle, still able to be filled in, still able to be healed. Hope yearns uniquely. Like the number of petals of each sunflower the scarecrow on your back I haven't seen yet tried to pluck away, being curious about the difference between lust and love. Pieces of failed aspirations scattered around its feet, show glimpses of understanding neither. That's not what ends up growing and dancing with any emotional awareness. A curious snake needs to sleep somewhere safe. A desperate dancer needs a docile pet to help mend a broken heart. Where better for them all to meet than a field of crops, learning to pile with the sun with a guard on watch. Maybe I should introduce myself to her first. And then I found something more about, losing somebody and the memories attached to one place. The opposite of fragility. I still enjoy rainy days by the water. Watching ripples walk towards me as a weak storm comes in. Waves can't decide which direction to choose. Trapping myself in the car, I see the small peninsula that's tough to traverse, even with the opposite of fragility I used to have as a child. The dock, where I departed on my first boat ride, looks newer, but is in worse condition than my memory can muster up of the old one. On a day much nicer than this, as I was trying to catch my bearings wobbling a kayak, it's been a while. I look up and see you intentionally fighting geese with the oar as your weapon of choice, meaning you didn't pick which direction to go, just knew there's a task at hand. Attack everything you can. Later that day, resting on a private island we probably shouldn't have been on, we took turns watching each other cry for so many different reasons, and all it did was bring us closer. The people fishing around the bend we didn't notice until later were polite enough to not talk so they could hear strangers' issues. I'm parked in the same spot I did with my last car the last day we spent together. A longer walk to the grass-layered beach because I'd have more time with you, just for a few extra steps. Not sure if I'd ever hear it again. I never stopped trying to make you laugh that day. And when you stopped to catch your breath, the rain picked up a little more every time. We took notice of the way we floated, the way we laid back together, when the waves knew where to go and bring us to peace, even if it never happened again. And there's different forms of heartbreak too. Not just losing a loved one, breaking up. And in this final one, it's a little longer. It talks about death and the complexities of mourning. Clouds are needy varmints. These subjective motifs, represented by old trinkets mostly, while a contrarian argues particular ones look more like our childhood pets from the farm. Familiarize memory with a lull as well as inherited combativeness just because. We just decided to agree to never fucking agree on the one passing over the mountains being a cat or a teddy bear. Watching one form into a robot ready for its head to pop off as I already start to form my argument against him thinking it's mom's favorite duck she'd feed at the pond or some shit reminds me of one early evening we debated too long over whether one very large cloud looked more like our old toy xylophone or our favorite mare, Maria. The crops weren't kind that summer. Neither was I, until Maria's spirit heard me speak ill of her. It started with a dripping drizzle off the distant gutter sounding like Tinker Toys playing a lazy melody. It had as shitty a rhythm as my own sense of timing can create. While soil drank and food began to wake, this broken metronome made my intentions feel more like distraction than improvement. Shivering pines in a different distance scare the birds. They screech their song of warning and protection, but a horse's wrath moves faster than a raven's fear. The gallops of thunder approach closer and closer after every blink of lightning, making the music more disorderly, and the stress of me being wrong again darkened the sky, imitating true evening too early. I was proven wrong, and showed how much love she will always provide with the heaviest downpour a sad, almost forgotten power can create. Since then, the gutter learned how to count thunder. The pines maintained defending stability. The Council of Clouds converged and formed a plan to figure out balance between feeding the world and teaching me a lesson without devastation. The robot begins to melt into something else Mother enjoyed. Her self-made leather jacket hanging on a rack her father made, waiting, all by its lonesome. Waiting on a cool, almost rainy day, the perfect early autumn evening, like today, to keep her warm and still show off how well she understood how to care for animals, from birth to death to tanning. Not use in a sense of exploit, but use as in a sign of respect, putting every piece to purpose. Our bones built strong, our bellies full, what growing boys need. The least she can have is a coat crafted with love and grief. I look at the screen door in the distance. On the other side of it hangs this jacket. A breeze from a different distance proves that a worn-out short sleeve is not enough for today. I spend the walk with the wind on my back, preparing myself for no greeting, followed by a puncturing glare at my feet until my shoes come off, followed by a smart-ass smirk to finish off the welcoming. Instead, the uninhabited chasm of an almost forgotten home, creaking as if old bones stretching an arm out for a frail handshake to introduce itself, because there is nothing familiar left except the jacket, which I grab quickly and shut the door before any skeleton finger touches me. The walk back with the wind on my face is a slower pace than I have ever kept on this property. I know it was pain slamming the door so fast. The worst of my imagination spawned a ghost chasing me. I also know that this visible air about to surround me is on its way up, so excited to make more art. Fluidic sculptures can't stay still either. The floating coat rack lost its purpose because there is nothing left to hold on to. I roll my sleeves down, making some quick dig at my ill-prepared sibling, stabilizing new warmth on his shoulders as we share a tear, realizing love will always be provided. Thank you for listening. Let me know if you liked it, if you didn't like it, what you think I could have done better, worse. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.